For more content like tonight's episode, make sure you check out the Al Nicoletti Facebook business page, the Al Nicoletti Facebook personal page. You can find all this content on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify under the Al Nicoletti Show. You can find all the micro clips and the quote cards on at Attorney Nicoletti on Instagram. All the content is there with amazing guests that have been on the show, and I can't wait for the show. It's going to be amazing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in the community that educate, entertain, and inspire all things Florida real estate on how you could take your company to the next level. On my show, I have the dynamic duo, the title queens of Mason Title, Madeline Perez and Jessica Smith. I am so happy to have them on my show. We're going to dive in on Florida title objections and how you can overcome them in your deals. When you come across those messy title situations, we see them all the times with what? Probate, judgments, liens. We're going to talk about liens tonight. Liens. We're going to get really into that. But all of this stuff with the short sales that are coming, crazy things. How do you overcome them? From the title perspective, they see this day in and day out. They're going to dive in on all of this stuff. And I just want to do an intro to who these two people are. They're amazing ladies at Mason Title. And I've been doing this more recently on my shows, talking about the background of them. And Madeline, she's from Chicago, but she's been here in Jacksonville for 12 years. She used to do property preservation, but that led her into short sales in 2008. She hated seeing people lose their homes. And she found her dream job working in the title industry in like 2017, helping people go through short sales, satisfying. She loves it because it's so frustrating and emotional when she sees people lose their homes, and it helps her and help those people get through those situations. And her favorite part of the job is that it makes her so excited. She goes on this crying fest. We're not going to talk about that, but we're gonna talk and dive into all of this stuff. And then you got Jessica Smith, right? Jessica, she's lived in Florida. She's a native here. She's been in the title business for 29 years. She gets overjoyed and just so excited when good things happen for people, when they close on their properties. She loves the investigation. She loves seeing what's on the property, who's around, what are the issues that need to be worked out. And she loves feeling like a detective. And she talks also about how there's a different mix of different types of people that she sees in the industry: investors, real estate professionals, FSBO, just a different form. Like she could see wholesalers, and she's been in this game so long, she could talk about it. But as everybody, we all learn with these things, and she loves learning and learning new things every day. But the bottom line, with the right thinking and the right power in the minds, there can be creative ways to overcoming title objections in Florida that can block your closing from happening or happening on time. So without further ado, welcome Jessica and Madeline to the show. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. I know you probably have so many files you're working on. You're ready to, you're going to do the show and you're going to get back to all those files and wake up the next day and do more closings. But thanks for taking the time. I'm so excited you're here. We're going to talk about the short sales, right? We're going to talk about the liens on the cities and, why they're on the rise. We're going to talk about Jessica being an online notary and overcoming all of these title objections, whether it's probate, judgments, mortgages, tax liens, all of it. So we're ready to dive in. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us, Al. We really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for letting us showcase.
Yes, showcase. That's it. Showcase the dynamic duo in both of you and how you overcome these Florida title objections. So just both of you, a little background. Where were you? I mean, I gave your intro, but really tell us, where were you before this? Because so many people can be inspired by listening to this podcast and this show about, hey, I'm not in the title industry, but I've heard all about it. I'm really interested in it, and they may want to do it. Or they have a situation they're going through right now that they can really use your help. So tell us, for everybody, where were you from? How did you even get here, and where are you today?
Sure. So myself, Jessica Smith, I started fresh out of high school. My mom was in the mortgage industry and was a loan officer at Navy Federal Credit Union. And so she got me a job working for her title company, which was Mark Hartle with Professional Land Title. And I started off with them 29 years ago. and they got me into it. Of course, I can date myself. That's back when we had the carbon paper rolled up in the typewriters, and you couldn't mess that up because there's no white out there. But I got really excited about it because it's like like you stated, investigation. You really get to doing a title search and determining the owners and any liens and clearing those things. While being with them, they of course taught me how to read a commitment and to go through that. And then I was with them for 3 years, had my first son, thought I was going to try and be a stay-at-home mom, but then I got hired on after I had my first son with Mr. Keith Watson at Watson and Osborne. I went to work for them, started as a post-closer, and moved my way up to manage their Southside location and stayed with them for 13 years. And then when the market crashed, Mason Title and Escrow said, we're going to go out and find title people to open up locations, and they contacted me to open up the Jacksonville location, which I did 11 years ago. And it's been going fantastic, and I got this lovely lady beside me that joined my team with me.
There you go.
Hello.
There's Madeline. Let the world know, who's Madeline?
This is Madeline.
This is Madeline.
I'm just the one on the voice.
Well, it's interesting because Jessica, you've been doing it so long, right? And really, right. Madeline, you're always grinding in the office. You're going through all the files. I mean, if you ever look at your desk, the pile's up to here, and you've only been really doing it since 2017, but you love this process of solving these problems. What was that for you? Tell us that motivation about solving those problems and helping people that got you into the 2017 point, and now you're just doing closings with Jessica like crazy.
Yeah. Well, when I used to do the property preservation, there was one family that actually broke my heart because I had to do an eviction and change their lock. And the woman was 9 months pregnant, and she had a few little ones already. And we had to do the eviction process. And from there, she told me her story about how she was making her mortgage payments to one bank. The loan sold over, and she was still making mortgage payments. And none of the payments that she was making was being processed, so she lost her home. So from there, I just started doing the short sales and helping people, and I actually helped her find something else, and I don't know what happened with them. But once I realized that I can help people, I applied for a job, and I got it.
Wow.
Great.
And it's been great ever since. Look at that. It's been a dynamic duo, which is really interesting in itself, right? It's hard to find that in your business where
it really is.
You both get along. A lot of people don't talk about that, all the partnership stuff and what that's really like, being together, working together, because you do one thing. So tell us, your role is what, Jessica? What's that role in the title company?
Yeah, so I am the office manager. And I also do closings and process files, and I handle complicated commercial deals, complicated files that need a little bit more hands-on experience. Of course, Madeline does that as well. But if it's more so of a commercial deal or more so of a problem that needs to have some furthermore assistance, then I handle that, and also being the office manager, helping in other ways as well.
And then Jessica, and Madeline, are you like the processor, what role is that in the title company? Is it processor? I don't know the words.
She's a closer. Yeah.
Closer. Okay. Closer. She's clutch.
Yeah. We start the files from start to finish. There's no middle person.
That's amazing. Yeah. If there's no middle person, it's like you both are working, taking two heads and figuring it out together. So what is it taken to really make that work in the title company, right? A lot of us don't see that. Like if you're working in a law firm, you have, you can have the head partner, then you have associates, you have paralegals, and you have other assistants. And it's not really a hierarchy, but it can be looked at as a hierarchy. With the title company, you're almost like, together trying to solve the problem together. So what has it been like figuring out that partnership to make the business work, to find those solutions for the investors, the buyers, and the sellers?
Communication.
Yes. I mean, Madeline and I do it a lot together on files. She'll get a title commitment and it's got numerous issues on it. So her and I will sit down together. We'll go through the title commitment. We'll go through the chain of title and determine when this person took title, why the issue was on the deed when they vested in title. What can we do to clear up this issue? You know, we'll see us, like you stated, with all that paper massed out on our desk so that we can go through it step by step and determine how to clear this issue, because, you know, we never want to tell anybody no. We want to say, let's help you get it done. We don't want to say there's no possible way of clearing this title issue. So it's, you know, putting it out on the table, her and I together as a team, reviewing it, figuring out where the issues actually are and who we need to get to correct it and how we can clear that.
And you said it best, communication, right? Communication's everything in the business. If you aren't communicating, nobody knows where you're at, what you're doing, where's the file at, is it moving along, is it stagnant, right? I think that's where a lot of title companies actually go wrong. So I'm not a title company, so I see it, right? Like I see it, and you know, we'll do the probate, and all of a sudden it's like I don't hear from anybody for like, you know, 2 to 3 months, and I'm like, is the file alive or what's happening? And it's like in the business, you got to communicate with everybody. So, you know, would you say that kind of helps stand you out from the rest? Is like you're always talking to the sellers, the buyers about this is what we got to do, this is how you do it, right? That's so communication is one of those first steps of overcoming those title issues and explaining it to them, right?
Oh, absolutely. If there's no communication, then there's no way of getting it done. You have to make sure that everybody is, you know, communicating with each other, and that when you have an issue and like we've come to resolve, this person needs to sign this affidavit, then you go to figuring out, are you communicating with the seller to get that contact person to sign that affidavit? Hey, Mr. Seller, we need to get your sister who was once vested. Hey, buyer, this is where we're at this point. Please don't back away from the deal. We're going to get it worked out. We're working on this.
Interesting.
It might take longer, but it'll get done.
Yeah, you would just be so surprised seeing it from the outside perspective of how much that doesn't happen, right? Like how often the title companies don't communicate with the buyers. So sometimes the buyers don't even know what to do, right? I saw a situation recently where they thought they just send in the check to pay for the house. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. You know, you got to do the wires. So it helps when you have people like you both that communicate with everybody.
Absolutely.
But one thing that, you know, one of the things you wanted to talk about is the rise in short sales. Before we get into that, what markets, aside from the short sales, are you seeing grow and heat up more? Like, what's files or things are you starting to see more that's coming in the office? Is it like, we'll get to the liens too, but what are you seeing that seems to be happening more in the business?
Wholesaling is, you know, a big thing, of course, right now. Everybody will tell you it's hard to find a property out there, but when an investor finds a property, you know, some of them are ones that just want to wholesale it. So that's a big thing, because as soon as it's found, it's put out there to wholesale quickly.
Interesting. So wholesaling's even been more than ever. So even more than last year, more than 2019, you're seeing it just happen more and more.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy. I was thinking maybe more tax liens, or because, you know, maybe a lot of people weren't paying in 2020 or 2019. I mean, I know we'll get into probate. I'm sure those are coming up more and more. Those happen a lot too. But short sales, they're here. They're still here. They're going to continue. Tell us about this ongoing process of short sales and how you all process them and how you overcome them.
Yeah, Madeline handles our short sales, and we process them for the sellers. And I'm going to let her talk on that for you, because she is the queen of our short sales right now.
There you go.
One thing that everybody needs to know is we do not negotiate them. Right. We do not do price increases or anything. I start the process with the seller. The short sale is only as fast as the seller communicates. If I send the seller documents where I need pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, I can only process it as fast as they send it to me. So if they don't send it to me, then the file is delayed. And a lot of the times the buyer doesn't see that part. They just think, oh, we're handling it. It's going to be a fast close. The short sales are never fast.
Right.
It's never a fast process. I've had files for 135 days, and something will always come up during that process. A lien will be filed, and that delays it again. So,
Have you
a lien being like the HOA filing a lien because they got behind on their HOA dues while we were processing the short sale. And now you got to negotiate the HOA.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about that with the HOAs getting involved at the same time too, right? That's also, I've seen that a lot lately where, you know, even in a probate, we'll see where there's no creditors and all of a sudden on that homestead property, the HOA's sending a demand letter for like, you know, $600. And it's like, whoa, like where did you come from? So in the short sales, there's short sales, it's overcoming and getting those done. How do you overcome those nasty, messy HOA issues when they pop up? And they're not really, they don't back down. Those HOAs, they're gonna get paid.
Yeah, they don't back down. The most that I can do is have them reduce some of their liens. I send them the short sale approval letter just showing how much the short sale lender has allotted for the HOA, and a lot of the time they'll see that they have no case. So a lot of the time they'll go for whatever I put on the settlement statement. It's usually, I try 500, and that's the max. And then they see that they can't get anything out of it, and they can't foreclose because either they get 500 or they get nothing.
Right. They either get something or they don't get anything. And then guess what? It's either just take it or leave it. So, yeah. And I'm sure it's a difficult conversation because with that seller, they don't want to really hear that they have to take care of it or it comes out of their part, right? Because it comes off seller's proceeds, the seller side, that they have to take care of it. Buyer, unless buyer really wants to pay for that and take care of it, which I don't know if that's part of the deal.
I try when they get too difficult. I always try and see if the buyer will cover some costs, but a lot of the time it's not the full amount.
Right. It may not be the full amount, and so they got to just take whatever they can. So you have people that you work with that can help on the short sale side, right? Like if you're not the ones negotiating, do you work with professionals that help on that negotiation?
Nope. It's the agent will list it with the seller. Once it's on the MLS and I get the documents, I start sending the lender their documents. They order the appraisal. They let us know what the property appraised for, and then the agent has to either list it at that amount or lower it, but we do not negotiate it.
Gotcha. Okay. They're not
I dispute appraisals as much as I can because there's always something that has to be done on the property, but we don't negotiate them.
What's that like working with good appraisers when you have those situations?
It's always difficult because one appraiser can have their view of how the property should look, and then another appraiser will have a different view. But we always dispute them. We send pictures of the damages and like a quote from a licensed contractor just showing what everything would be, and we send it to the short sale lender.
So there's good appraisers and there's ones that don't really help the situation that much, and it just depends who you're working with.
That's with everything.
Right. There's good. Yeah. Right. There's good things out there, and sometimes there's people that don't know what they're doing. I got you on that. Yeah, I see it too. Liens, and liens, right? So more things that come up on title, huge, right? So liens filed by the city or code violations. The fact that you have a lot of these files in the title company right now, you think that, and I saw what you wanted to talk about, that they're kind of on the rise, right? And I wonder if that's something that's happened from COVID over the last year, people not paying it, kind of any deferrals. I don't know. We'll talk about that. But the fact that they take a while, that they have a fee, and the process has to be filed. So talk to us about the liens that you see that seem to be a problem with code violations or city violations, nuisance liens, right? We see that all the time with the tax deeds, right? They're not coming off. The nuisance liens, demolition. What's it like?
Well, there's two of them. There's the one that's been recorded, and it's called a rolling fine, and that one's going to show up on our title commitment. And that one, someone can purchase the property with that subject to, if they're paying cash, If they're getting a loan, they can't do that. But if they're paying cash, they can purchase it subject to. And that just means that it's gone to the point to where the city has filed a lien, they've given them a notice, they said mow your grass, you didn't mow your grass, now you had all this trash sitting out there, they told you to clean up all the trash, it's been a year, now they have recorded an actual judgment against you, which attaches to any property that you own. And it specifically says that. It's not just the property that the violation's on, it's against any property that that seller owns. So it could come up on your house that's all clean, but because you have that, and that judgment specifically has that verbiage, it's going to attach to any property that that seller owns. So you have to go through the city, and you have to get you have to request a release in order for them to agree to release that. And it could have been a rolling fine at $100 a day or $250 a day. And now it's $81,000, and you're asking the city to eat that. Well, they're going to say, okay, we'll work with you. Here's an agreement that we're going to sign. It's called a settlement agreement. And let me just tell you that it takes a long, long time for them to sign off on this and agree to it, and then at the end release it. I'm going to say 6 to 8 months. What do you think?
Yeah,
6 to 8 months. Time. Yeah, and this is after the person has signed the agreement stating that they will do the work to the home to get it cleaned up into code, and that they've already paid them $1,500 to $2,500. The buyer has done this. Now they've gone to the city and said, I've completed all the work. The city's going to take up to 6 months to issue that release for them to have clear title. So if it's an investor who's wanting to flip the property, or they fixed up, they want to sell it to a retail buyer, they're going to have to wait that 6-month period for title to be clear.
Why so long?
Because there is only one person at the city that handles this. And that poor lady, Mary Cameron, handles all of these cases on her own.
For all of Duval?
For all of Duval.
There was 3 people, and they've all dwindled down to 1.
Is that because of COVID, or is that how it's always been? That happened in 2019, or?
I think it started because of COVID, because she had another employee that was there, and because of COVID, they switched it to a different department just so that they didn't have so many people in the same office.
Got you. So you have forms, right? There are forms that you fill out, and there's things Correct. That you have to do. You have to follow it the right way. And it's stuff that the seller, I guess, has to sign. It's almost like an affidavit or of what's kind of happening with the liens. I'm thinking through all the things that I wish there was a way to expedite those things. It's not going to happen unless you actually go see her and, you put yours first on the pile. So
it doesn't work either.
We've actually sent her a charcuterie board in order to say, hey, put Mason Title's request in the front.
And she probably ate it and still didn't put it in the front.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But it's something that just has to be done. So, for example, when somebody buys a tax deed, right? The tax deed, you always want to do your due diligence. And if you're in Duval County, you can check the tax deed public viewer. It's a great thing to check. Then if you end up buying the tax deed, of course, you run title. We all know, get that title commitment. Make sure the title company and the underwriter is happy with who's on there, who has to get served, so there can be clear title. But then you do get those demolition liens and nuisance liens. And are you all familiar with the whole rebate program where they buy the tax deed, and that if they can do the rebate program where they get like a 2-to-1 credit for every $2 they put into improvement into the property, the city will write off $1, so it's not going to be so much. Mm-hmm. What is your experience with that?
Not really a lot of experience, other than someone told me that they had that with it, because when someone buys a property by tax deed, all we really do for them is the title search, because we can't issue the title because they have to come to you or someone else to do either a suit to quiet title or go through the process of clearing everything.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. So not the quiet title part, because that could last 6 to 9 months, and a really long time, a lot of money. But title commitments, right? So pulling title work, that's very overlooked. I think in the world of real estate, doing and taking that property and bringing it to you all to do a full search, who's title vested in? Are there any probates that need to be done? I mean, is everybody alive? Is anybody missing? All these other things. What is a title commitment to you all? Because I know what it is to me. It's a bottom line forensic examination, and I'm like, this is what we got to do, right? What is it to you all in the title world? Explain what the title commitment is.
Sure. So a title commitment is where comes back from our underwriter telling us who the actual vested owner is, if the taxes are current on the property, if there is any recorded liens on the property, say it be a mortgage, say it be an HOA lien, a lien for a contractor, a notice of commencement, which means a contractor has to be paid for their work. It's going to pull up and tell us if the deeds in the chain of title were done correctly, or if we have to get any of those corrected, like someone didn't put a marital status or a non-homestead language. And being in the state of Florida, that's a very important thing. A title commitment is going to tell us if there is any discrepancies in the legal description. If there is, it's going to call for a survey to make sure that we are correctly doing the right property. A title commitment is going to tell us if there was any divorces in the chain of title that were not correctly handled. Child support liens that have to be, and a title search is a 30-year search on that property. So it's going to tell us who the owners were for the past 30 years. It's going to research all the liens that were filed on the property in the past 30 years, and if a release has been done on those liens. So if a mortgage was made back in 1970 and say it was never released, it's going to show up on our title commitment. It could have been 2 owners ago, but that's something we have to clear to give clear title. So to me, a title commitment is an investigation report of a property. Highly addictive.
You said what?
Highly addictive.
I mean, it's so important, right? Like right. I can't stress that enough. Before I even begin probates, I tell everybody, I'm like, you're pulling that title commitment. Like, I want to see that, because I don't want to find out later we got to do this again. Like, there's 5 people on the title. And that's what I think is cool about it too, right? Is that on the deed, it may say 1 person, but what you and I and everybody don't see is when the title company's like in the glass box looking at the whole file, and they're like, wait a second, we don't like that deed that was done in 1993. That was a power of attorney done to that person that was the agent for the person.
Oh, yeah.
Bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So tell us a little bit about power of attorneys, because I can tell you my world of power of attorneys and why they're so important to helping bring the file across the finish line. The fact that they got to allow for a real estate transaction. They got to allow for a probate if there is one, or there's one needed because the person's in prison. So what is important about power of attorneys in the title world? What do you need? What is big? I know you both see it. I know it.
Yeah. Most importantly, the person that signed it has to be alive. They can't be deceased. You can't give a power of attorney, from someone who's deceased. 2 witnesses in the state of Florida have to be on that power of attorney, unless it's a military power of attorney. A military power of attorney has a special clause on the top. It's called a preamble, and that just basically omits for witnesses not required on it, because we love our military and they have a little special clause there. Power of attorneys, I think that the main thing that we see is that the person has to be within their right mind still, because if someone has dementia and it's proven dementia and they signed a power of attorney and that person been clinically proven that they're not sure of what's going on, we can't verify that that person is still allowing that power of attorney to be used.
Well, I learned something about military power of attorneys. I never heard about that before.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that you don't have to have any witnesses for those. That are special power of attorneys. You learn something new every day. So, but I just see them all the time. And what a lot of people don't know is you need that original POA for title, right?
Yes, you do. And, a way to tell it, even with somebody signs in black ink, is there's a way that we can tell if it's an original ink, because if you do a little piece of wet paper, wet your finger, you're able to smear that ink. And so that's how we can tell if it's an original and not a copy.
I didn't know that. There's
tricky.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I could say the same thing about the wills that I see, but I don't want to touch that ink. So I'm not going there. But that's a good way to know that they're original. But they got to allow for the real estate transaction, something that a lot of people don't know. That's just something that came off my mind that happens in title all the time.
It does. It does happen quite often. Having that original, and they'll think that what they have is the original, and it's actually just a copy in their security deposit box, and they have to go back to the attorney that prepared it to get that. And a lot of people don't understand what things you cannot use a power of attorney for, and that's a trust. You cannot use a power of attorney if you own a property in a trust. That's why you would name a successor trustee. I know that's a different subject, but you can't use a power of attorney for a corporation. There's different documentation that allows for that as well.
Yeah, that's going into a whole nother new hole.
I know.
I could do my whole thing on trust avoid probate, but they don't avoid a whole court administration. They're all messed up. But, trust and all this combined, overcoming all of these things. It sounds, when I ask you about this, it sounds like if there's a probate, you know the steps to figuring out what's the next step, right? Like overcoming those. Mortgages and short sale situations, right? If there's equity in the property, it's really nothing you have to do. It's just it gets paid off. Tax liens. Talk to us about judgments. That's really interesting. When a judgment comes up, whether it's child support or it's a civil judgment. So MasterCard filed a lawsuit and the seller never responded. And then MasterCard gets wise and takes the judgment and records it against the property because it's an asset that they own. And it's been 9 years and 11 months. How are you? How are you all handling overcoming that objection on title?
Madeline actually just had one just last week that had an issue like that. Yeah.
Tell us. Go for it.
So we had the judgment, and the time period had elapsed.
It was a car loan.
Yes, it was a car loan. And go ahead, tell.
So it was a car loan that he took out years ago, and it wound up being for his niece, and he didn't even remember what the car was. So the judgment had expired, but then they refiled it. And so it came back up, and it's on a short sale.
They refiled it before the 10-year hit?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They got that smart.
They got that smart, yes.
Yeah. I think they caught on because I had sent them the short sale approval letter letting them know that there was no money in there, and then they refiled it.
Wow. That's hard to find, right? So let me back up for everybody. So a judgment, right? When there's a judgment and they try to attach it to the real property, it only sticks for 10 years in Florida, unless before the 10-year mark, the judgment is re-recorded, and then it can last another 10 years. And what Madeline and Jessica find is some of these companies, they'll get the judgment recorded against the property. It'll be year 10 and 1 month, and then they record it, or they forgot to record it. And that's where they can help you overcome those issues when it pulls up on title and you're like, whoa, that's no good. But sounds like you found that one that recorded it right before. And I mean, how big is it? I mean, how much is that judgment?
It was $17,000.
Even if it's homestead, it still sticks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So even though it was the person's primary residence, that judgment still stuck to the property.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
I'm still fighting it.
Yeah. So what do you do in that case when it's still valid, right? So 17,000, it's still, I saw the sigh of relief or frustration. I'm not sure which it was. So, but regardless, how do you take that judgment and try to make it work? Are you negotiating with the attorney that did the judgment? Are you negotiating with the plaintiff? What is it?
Well, I went to the attorney and I sent him the approval letter, and I told him the seller's case, how he's elderly, he just has all these health issues, he can't pay it, he doesn't remember it, and so I'm still waiting to see where he's gonna go. But he lowered it from 17,000 to 4,000. Now I'm trying to lower it to 500. So it's a work in progress.
Wait, did you just say from 17,000 to 500?
He lowered it from 17,000 to 4,000, but I only allowed it 500, so I'm waiting on that.
But still, that's amazing work. From 17,000 to 4,000, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that takes care of all the interest that accrued with that principal, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, look at that. See, this is why you have the dynamic duo of title queens of Mason Title right here.
Yes.
So when you work,
it's a learning every day. Come in, it's like your brain cells are going to explode.
well, that means you're learning, and that means your brain's expanding and you're learning. So
every day.
Every single day you'll see something. I'll see something too every day. We're all learning, and that's what's amazing about
Always learning.
You don't know everything, but if you can take the situation and you put the brain power together, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So just
everything. No, I don't.
Well, you learn all the time. You learn going through scenarios. I think just like I just had a webinar, just like probate. Everybody's like, oh, what do we have to do? How do we do it? Well, one of the best ways you do it is just start, get into it, right? So one of the best ways you all learn the different situations in title is you go to work and you learn all of this stuff every day. And you're going to see things. I've heard people that have been in the title industry for 50 years, and they say they'll see things that year 51 they've never seen in 50 years.
Yep.
So you
never stop learning.
You never know. So tell us about this unique thing that you have, Jessica, which is RON, remote online notarization. Why is that so important to have that as a title company today in Florida? It's hard to get. So I know, I think I saw the preview of the exam. It was just like, when you go to the main file, it's like 14, 15 little sub tabs and subfolders. And it's like, I'll let somebody else do that. But you have that. So tell us about the benefits of having that as a title agent.
Yeah, it's a great benefit. So RON is a remote online notary. It started in 2020 when the COVID was, out there, and it was approved by our state legislature and underwriters for sellers. This can only be used on sellers. Lenders have not approved it for buyers that are getting loan packages yet. But what is so great about this is, especially with the COVID, is when it was a big thing, is a lot of people, did not want to leave their house. So RON is basically what I tell everybody, it's a merge between FaceTime and DocuSign together as one. I am certified with a company called DocVerify, and what we do is the person has to be a U.S. citizen, a legal age, and have a Social Security number, of course. They have to have a valid email address. And what I'll do is just a driver's license, valid driver's license. What I do is send them a link through DocVerify, and they have to go through that link and get verified. Being verified means they have to upload their driver's license, and you have to be able to take a picture with your smart device where it's uploaded. And then they have to go on and answer a couple of questions that only them and the government would know, like something like you owned a blue VW Bug in 1982 or 1980, which sometimes a lot of people have a problem with those answers. Yeah. So once they get verified, they pop up on my screen, and just like we're doing here, I'm doing with them. I have a witness. Usually it's Madeline who's on the screen as well, because we're required in the state of Florida to have a witness. These documents are notarized in the state and the county that the notary is in. So this has really benefited people that were in a different country or are in a different country, because I'm still doing them. And they did not come home, and they're the sellers on the property. And here we are. We did one with a lady who's in Colombia last week, and she's in Colombia. We're sitting here. The state and county is Florida Duval, the date, all the documents she's seeing on her computer is all the settlement documents. I'm going through them with her just like I would in a closing with her, explaining them. She's digitally signing them just like you would in DocuSign, and I am digitally notarizing them. I have a digital notary stamp and a digital notary signature. Madeline is there digitally signing as a witness, and boom, it's done 15, 20 minutes. And it's just something I think that was great. It's great to be offered to people. So a seller doesn't have to worry about coming into the office and getting it done. They can do it from their home while they're waiting on the mover or still doing their moving, or they're out of town. They don't have to worry about coming into the office for a closing. It's done the same process. Usually the hardest thing is them to get through that verification process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what you're basically telling me is you can do the notarization there in the office right now. And I can be in Europe. Let's say it could be Britain, it could be Germany and Italy. And you can do, so could you do the deed needed?
Yes.
Really? So that's interesting
Yes.
too. Somebody's away and they can't be here. That's helping them. And does it have to be like a passport? Can it be a driver's license of that country? Are there certain requirements? This is all new to me, so
Yes.
I'm interested.
Yes, it has to be a valid picture ID, just like any notary require. A passport, a driver's license, it has to be a valid picture ID. It cannot be expired.
Interesting. Yeah, there's so much to that. There's so many possibilities. You can then do title all over Florida, which is
yes,
huge.
Which we do.
So do you think that's something that's coming up more and more to get more of the closings, not just locally, but more around the state, is to have that online notary system? I mean, can you do closings for people? You only do closings in Florida, right?
Correct.
So the agents for Florida properties, not Georgia properties or other properties. So
correct.
But you can do the online notarization for people that are in those states, in those different counties. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is amazing. I think it's a great thing to have. I don't use it as much as I did last year, but I'm still, of course, using it, and it's still, I think, a great benefit. It's something that we don't charge people for. We don't charge an extra fee for it. We eat the fee that we go through with Doc Verify because, of course, they charge us a fee to do it, but we don't put that cost on anybody.
Right. Amazing. What a great service. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I'm going to ask one big question, but I want to make sure we get all of the chyrons and all of the info so everybody knows where to find you both. We have the how to connect on Facebook, right? Connect with Madeline and Jessica on Facebook. And then we have their website, masontitle.com, and reaching out to them to solve the title issues in closings. They have the email address, and then I think even the phone number. The phone number's there. Looking at the screen and going side to side, but they got all the info there. So, make sure you reach out to them. They are amazing ladies at this title company. They respond. They answer the phones. What a concept! It's hard to find people that'll actually answer the phones. So I have a whole bunch of signature questions that I usually ask, but it's more geared to the investors and the realtors. But if there was one thing in your title world that was the biggest, that ends up being the biggest deal killer for title, what is that?
I would say uncooperative people. Of attitude with someone, and you tell them in a way of, I'm just trying to help you. I'm not trying to make it more complicated for you. We're just trying to figure out a way to help you. Having that compassion in there and trying to help them instead of always, I just want the money to get this file closed.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when they do not cooperate, especially when they've all signed the contract and then they don't come to closing, and then there's a specific performance, or you have the one where there's one or more people on title and one wants to sell and the other doesn't, and then they learn what the concept of partition is. So uncooperative is definitely, you can tell I'm about to go on that one, Madeline. So yeah, it's amazing when you can bring everybody together. Like there was a call the other day that I had where somebody said, "Hey Al, they all signed, but this fourth one is not coming to the table." And it's like, they really need to understand what the consequences are about that. But if you're able to talk them through it and communicate with them, it can make a world of difference and make the deal go well. And then you can bring that file to the finish line and everybody's happy. We're having a great time. And that's why you both are in this game, because you love seeing people satisfied, happy, and it's amazing. So thank you both for taking the time. I know you have the files that are up to the desk that this high, and you're ready to keep conquering them to get it to this low and then getting it back to that high. So thank you, Madeline, Jessica. Thank you so much for being here. And this will be all over the internet now. It'll be on my page. It'll be on everybody's page, and everyone will see you. I know you have loyal investors and loyal fans that are always paying attention and coming to you. So thank you again for both being on, and looking forward to seeing you both. I know we'll have a lunch and learn soon, or I don't know, maybe we'll have a probate boot camp 2.0 or something. You'll both be there.
Thank you so much, Al, for having us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. All right, everybody, you had it there with Madeline Perez and Jessica Smith. Amazing. The title ladies, the duo in Jacksonville, Florida for Mason Title. Amazing, amazing stuff right there. We learned so much about all of the title objections. So if you want more content like this, make sure you check out the Al Nicoletti Facebook page, the Al Nicoletti personal page, the YouTube channel under Al Nicoletti. You can find all the micro clip and the quote cards at Attorney Nicoletti on Instagram. And of course, you have the Al Nicoletti Show that's on iTunes and Spotify. You have all the episodes. So many guests that I've already had recorded that are coming out every week. I think this week it was Mike Rangine. I got to check who this week is, but so many that keep coming out every week. It's amazing. So make sure you check out all the content. You can learn so much watching these episodes, like Madeline and Jessica's right here, all about title and the investing world. I'll see you next time on the Al Nicoletti Show. Take care.